Who is the worst president in US history? From a Chinese perspective, it's not George W. Bush who started hot wars, nor Trump who launched the trade war, it's Barack Obama. His presidency marked the turning point when America began its decline. Obama had three major faults. First, political correctness. Obama was America's first black president, and his election symbolized progress in racial equality, but he overestimated the power of political correctness. Issues of race, gender, and LGBTQ rights were wrapped in a moral shield that made them untouchable. Any dissenting voice was quickly labeled racist, sexist, or bigoted. Complex social issues were simplified into identity-based confrontations. White versus black, men versus women, straight versus gay, Christians versus Muslims. American society was fragmented into polarized camps. Identity politics reached its peak during Obama's time. Starting in 2013, racial conflicts erupted one after another. Rational discussion gave way to emotional factionism. Eventually, the backlash against political correctness led to the white working class turning against the establishment in 2016, paving the way for Trump's rise after their political outlet. Today's deep red-blue divide in the US has its roots in the seeds planted during Obama's presidency. That's why we call him the president of division. Second, the hidden dangers of quantitative easing. When the 2008 financial crisis hit, Obama chose to print money without restraint to bail out the flawed system. The Federal Reserve launched 4 rounds of QE. In the short term, the stock market rebounded and the economy stabilized. But US national debt soared from $10.6 trillion to $19.6 trillion. Each American effectively took on an extra $30,000 in debt. The United States developed a dependency on monetary stimulus, like an addict unable to quit. The US exported high inflation globally, making other countries pay the price, such as China invested $576 billion into infrastructure to bail out the economy. That's 12.7% of then China's GDP. The whole world suffered greatly. That's why we call Obama the debt president. Third, strategic misjudgment. During Obama's presidency, China's rise accelerated, yet Washington kept its strategic focus stuck in the Middle East. Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, draining its energy and resources. It wasn't until 2011 that Obama hastily announced the pivot to Asia strategy and tried to bypass China with the TPP. But by then, China had already advanced its own global economic initiatives, like the Belt and Road. While TPP negotiations dragged on, the US fell behind China's pace. More importantly, Obama misjudged China's intentions. He assumed China would play a secondary role within the US-led system like Japan or Germany, failing to recognize China's determination to build its own system. His China policy was internally contradictory. On one hand, he tried to contain China militarily. In July 2016, 2 US carrier groups entered the South China Sea, assuming China would back down. Instead, China locked its missiles on both of their carriers, and war was nearly triggered. In the end, the US backed off. On the other hand, Obama still relied on China to buy US debt. This inconsistency led to strategic failure. That's why we call him the misjudgment president. During Obama's 8 years, America sank into the swamp of political correctness and debt, while China stayed focused and practiced long-term strategy and seized a historic strategic opportunity. That's why many Chinese see Obama as the key figure in America's decline. In short, Bush, Obama, and Trump all posed challenges to China, but ironically, they ended up helping China in different ways. As competitors, the Chinese don't hate them. Facing a strong opponent is motivating. It means we ourselves are not weak, we are strong. And if the opponent keeps making mistakes like Obama, Trump, or anyone else, why complain about that, right? The American people are lovable, but unfortunately, they are too easy to deceive. First by Democrats, then by Republicans, and rotate again and again. It's quite pitiful. The strategic chase game between the Chinese and American governments is more threatening than any movies, and far more consequential in reality. So, do you think your government is smart on the people's behalf? Follow me, an Eastern perspective, to see the world.